The New York Islanders win game number 1, 4-3 in a fantastic game number 1 over the Pittsburgh Penguins in overtime. And if this game is any indication for how this series is going to be, we're in for a competitive, hard-fought, really close series, and an entertaining one at that. This was a fantastic game number 1. One of the best ones I've seen in quite some time, honestly. This was a really good, well-played hockey game, and it was super exciting. There was a ton of plays, that momentum shifts all over the place, great offensive skill on hand by both teams, and just, like I said, a ton of momentum going back and forth, and the fans absolutely made it something special, and that's what I want to focus on here early on. It's Mitch here of Hot Take Hockey. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. NHL recaps, reactions, and videos on Hot Take Hockey, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, like the video. Also, comment below what you thought of this game. Did you like what you saw from the Islanders? Do you think this is going to be more to come from them against the Penguins? Do you think the Penguins maybe played a little bit worse than they're capable of? What did you think of both teams in this game? And let me know in the comment section. I always like looking at that, so I want to hear your opinion. But I want to focus on the fans, because the fans were fantastic tonight for the Islanders. This is a smaller arena. This is only a 14,000 person arena, and they were louder than the Lightning fans. They were louder than the Winnipeg Jet fans. They were absolutely incredible tonight, and I think that's really where the Islanders were able to muster up this energy, and especially in the first period, and get after the Penguins. Early in the first period, they score basically on the first or second shift. Tom Kuhnhackl, off that momentum, goes, snipes it top corner. It ends up being offside, which was the right call by the referees, the right replay. So they got that one right. But then, not far after that, only a minute and 40 in, Jordan Eberle scores 5-hole on Matthew Murray, and the Islanders are just outskating the Penguins. They're outworking the Penguins, and it really seems like they are jumping all over the Penguins, and the Penguins are trying to weather the storm. They end up doing so in the first period. Phil Kessel gets his nice snapshot off. He scores, so the Penguins tie it up, and then the crowd gets a little bit quiet there for a little bit, and it's 1-1, and it's kind of even, and the Penguins are getting their chances. Islanders are getting theirs. 2-1, Brock Nelson scores on the power play, a power play that didn't produce in the basically whole month of March, and then into April. They barely scored. But in this game, there was a nice 2-on-1 going the opposite way by the Penguins. I believe Rust coughed the puck up, was trying to find Cullen, and the Islanders just take it on an odd man rush the opposite way. They end up getting a man free in front of the net. Dumoulin is not able to come over and slide over and help on Nelson, and Nelson is able to put it behind Matthew Murray to go 2-1 in the first period. Malkin then ties it up in the second period on the power play, as he very much does in the playoffs. He's one of the best playoff players there is, as is Phil Kessel. So the Islanders really had to deal with playing that team that's very experienced in the past, as the Islanders are not a very experienced team. For, being at home obviously helped, but in game number 1, just to know what that playoff intensity is like when you're a team that doesn't really have a lot of experience in the playoffs, unlike the Penguins who have a lot of that experience, it was very impressive to see the Islanders kind of rise to the occasion and play very well, and play with that tempo and that pace and that style that you need to in the playoffs to win. Because you clearly see, if you watch a regular season game and then you go to the playoffs, you see that. And I just want to say, that is something I miss every year. You don't realize how much better playoff hockey is until you actually watch it. And that's something I noticed in this game. It was absolutely phenomenal to watch. This game was incredible. But Malkin ties it up. Third period, we get a Nick Leddy goal off a sort of a fluttering puck. It looked a little strange. I don't think Matthew Murray quite saw it. It hit the post, went in. Nice shot from the point. There was a screen in front. Justin Schultz pretty much does the same thing. A nicer shot. It was still a fluttering puck a little bit, and the puck wasn't really flat on the ice when he was able to hit it. But they had the goalie pulled. 6 men on the ice. Malkin to Letang to Schultz. He gets it in the back of the net. So we're going to overtime, and Josh Bailey eventually off an incredible play by Matt Barzal. He dekes out, I think he steals the puck from Letang and goes past Dumoulin. It might have been Mata, but I don't remember exactly. But incredible just showcase of his edges and his ability and his agility with his skates. And as a skater, Matt Barzal is one of the best in the league, especially side-to-side, ability to change edges. And he showed that there, and he went around that guy and made an incredible play to get a shot on net. Did it hit the post or was it stopped? But regardless, Josh Bailey puts it in the back of the net. They had to review it to see if it was goaltender interference or offside, but it wasn't. The Islanders win the game, and they played a great game. You know, they scored on the power play, which they haven't really been able to do. They did their fair share in terms of penalty killing. Only 1 goal from the Penguins. They had a few opportunities in the game to score on the power play. They had 3 of them. And I thought that their defense played a little bit better than the Penguins' defense. The Penguins' defense struggled in this game, specifically Olli Mata. I thought Chris Letang didn't have one of his better games. Dumoulin, obviously injured coming into this game, didn't look his best, but had some really nice plays, specifically that slide to break up a 2-on-1. But I thought overall, when looking at the Islanders, I really felt like their defense, whether it was Johnny Boychuk's job on Malkin throughout the game, whether it was Nick Leddy, who really showed a lot in terms of his offensive skill in this game with a goal, but also just the ability to pass the puck. Scott Mayfield was a -2, but I felt like he had a presence in the game. And then you look at Devin Taves, who I thought was really, really good in this game, and I don't think gets enough credit overall. It really surprised me, honestly, in this game. Barzal was relatively quiet in this game until the overtime play, but he had a couple of chances. I think Jordan Eberle played a great game, and he's always, throughout his course of his hockey career, had this kind of ability to be clutch, and he showed it again in this game with a goal and an assist. Tom Kuhnhackl had a great game. Got to give him a lot of credit for the Islanders. That's pretty much the stars of the game. I think Bailey, and I think one thing that the Penguins need to figure out defensively is how they're going to handle Lee and Bailey, specifically not only on the power play, but just in front of the net. It really seemed like they tried to adjust by putting Gudbranson a little bit out there, but I would like to see them take Mata out of the lineup and, as a Penguins fan, put in Jack Johnson, because I think Jack Johnson has played really well at the end of the year. And as a bigger body, he can kind of handle those guys. I think he's also more prone to taking the abuse that the fourth line of the Islanders, which played fantastic, whether it was Matt Martin, Clutterbuck, these guys had a huge impact on this game that doesn't necessarily show up in the stat sheet outside of the hits category, but they had a great game in that regard, and I think they were big. The Penguins, I think their first line didn't play as well as they have throughout the course of the season. I don't think Crosby had a great game. He had a couple of chances, but we're talking about Sidney Crosby here. And then Jake Gensel was pretty invisible, which he hasn't been this year, so that was disappointing. I do think Phil Kessel had a really good game, a really strong game. Malkin had a pretty strong game. Outside of that, Jared McCann was pretty good. Justin Schultz was okay. But the Penguins, I don't think, played their best game. I think they can really look at this game, see what they did wrong, adjust, go into game 2 with a different strategy, different kind of look, and possibly mix the lineups a little bit. I think possibly putting McCann back on the first line, moving Russ to the second line, could be a move for them, and putting Jack Johnson in the lineup, I think, would be a good move. Islanders, I think you just pretty much need to go into the game with the same intensity, same momentum, and let your fans really get you into this game at home, because that was a huge difference in this game, quite honestly. But overall, this was a really fun game to watch. The Penguins drop it to the Islanders in overtime. The Islanders take it 4-3 over the Penguins in overtime. 43 hits to 42 for Pittsburgh, 44 shots to 33 for Pittsburgh. The faceoffs did favor New York, which is interesting. But we'll see in game number 2. This is going to be a really interesting and intriguing game number 2 to see if the Islanders can go up 2 and put the pressure on Pittsburgh going back home, or if the Pittsburgh Penguins can draw it up at 1. So the home team wins it on their home ice in game number 1. Very good game. Probably the best one we'll see today. Let me know what you guys think about this game and what you think about game number 2 going forward. It's Mitch of Hot Take Hockey. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, comment below, and subscribe. Peace.